Get it went.
Okay, we're recording.
Hello, thank you for joining us for the East Aurora Village Board meeting for Monday, October 21st, 2024. If you could please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can I get a roll call attendance, please?
Trustee Lizikis.
Here.
Trustee Cameron. Here. Trustee Vijay. Trustee Flynn.
Here.
Trustee Raby.
Here.
Trustee Shear.
Here.
Mayor Mercurio.
Present.
6 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the Village Board meeting for October 7, 2024?
So moved.
Moved by Steve, second.
Second.
Second by Molly. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. I get a motion for the approval of the payment of abstract 2024-2025 fiscal year for voucher numbers 65319 to 65363 for a total of $26,270.40.
So moved.
Moved by Steve, second by
Second.
Jeff. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. This is our first speakers and communications. If you have any topic you want to speak about that is not one of the public hearings, because you get a chance to talk about that in a minute, please raise your hand when acknowledged, come up and speak. Maybe keep it under 2 or 3 minutes, please. There'll be a second opportunity for speakers and communications near the end of the meeting in case you think of something. Sir.
Good evening. Let me reintroduce myself. My name is Eric Kennedy. I'm one of the owners of Highwire Farms. We have a special use permit at 658 Main Street, and I just wanted to kind of talk to you about this. The issue coming up in 2 weeks. I understand you have something before you to change your ordinance to be able to revoke a special use permit. I will only say that I can speak to you after the meeting if you'd like on a one-to-one basis. But there is ongoing litigation on this. This is not my first rodeo on state and municipal licensing. However, it is my first rodeo in the state of New York. So I appreciate your consideration, and if you'd like to talk afterwards, hit me up. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Anyone else? All right. That ends our first speakers and communications. Moving on to public hearings, can I get a motion at 7:03 to open a public hearing to consider a site plan application for 30 Shearer Avenue, applicant Susan McBurney, the Aurora Historical Society, to construct a retaining wall for an exterior garden expansion and sculpture on the north side of the property.
So moved.
Moved by Steve, second.
Second.
Second by Kristen. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. The public hearing is now open. Susan, do you want to just give us a quick high level of what's going on, just so everybody's up to speed?
We have finally got our sculpture. We're ready to come and sit next to his house. If you've been by there, you've seen a lot of the prep work done. Tomorrow, the stone should start arriving. So we're just sort of improving the garden, going to add a wall and a bench with the sculpture on it.
Nice.
I know you have.
You guys have any questions for Susan while she's up here? No? All right, sounds like a great project.
Well,
Thank you.
10 years.
Anyone from the public want to speak on this? All right, can I get a motion to close the public hearing at 7:05?
So moved.
Moved by Ernie, second.
Second.
Second by Jeff. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Public hearing is now closed. I get a motion to open a public hearing at 7:05 to consider a local law to amend Village Code Section 285-52.6, revocation of special use permits.
So moved.
Moved by Steve, second.
Second.
Second by Molly. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. The public hearing is now open. Maureen, do you want to tell us a little bit about that, please?
This is going to change the law to say that in the event that a special use permit is not used within 6 months from the date that they would be looking, the board would be looking for an applicant to come in and explain what their status is to the board. The board would retain the right to revoke the special use permit at that time, but may also just hear the update. And then under every situation, if it's not used within 1 year, then it would, at that point, be expired, and they'd move on. It's what people have been referring to as the sunset law.
Very good. Anyone from the public have any comments, want to speak on this? All right. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing at 7:06 PM?
Motion.
Moved by Jeff, second.
Second.
Second by Steve. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. The public hearing is now closed. Can I get a motion to approve a determination of non-significance pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act in the matter of 30 Shearer Ave applicant Susan McBurney, Aurora Historical Society, to construct a retaining wall for an exterior garden expansion and sculpture on the north side of the property?
So moved.
Moved by Kristen, second.
Second.
Second by Molly. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. And can I get a motion to approve a site plan application for 30 Shearer Ave, Susan McBurney applicant, Aurora Historical Society, construct a retaining wall for an exterior garden expansion and sculpture on the north side of the property?
Motion.
Moved by Jeff, second.
Second.
Second by Steve. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. All right, congratulations. Thank you so much for all the work you do. Moving on to C, can I get a motion to approve a local law of 2024 to amend Village Code Section 285-52.6, revocation of special use permit?
Motion.
Moved by Jeff, second.
Second.
Second by Ernie. Further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Steve?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Ernie?
Aye.
Jeff?
Aye.
And Molly?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Motion passes. Thank you. I get a motion to set a public hearing for November 4th, 2024, to consider a site plan application for 170 Gray Street, City's Car Wash, to remove the awning, construct a carport and roof over the man door.
So moved.
Moved by Steve, second.
Second.
Second by Ernie. Further discussion.
Yeah, I want to know if it's going to make my car cleaner when I go through there.
And your pet. You tie your dog to the roof now.
This will only take around 4 hours. Let me,
We're only referring it for a public hearing.
Yeah, you don't need,
Yeah, this is,
rear end of the car wash, so when you're leaving, it should shine a little bit more for you.
thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome.
Depends how you bring it in, Steve.
Yeah, so, yeah, we're referring this, and then,
I'm sorry, we're setting a public hearing.
setting a public hearing for it, that'll be the time to do a presentation, if you like. All right, thank you, Sam. All right, so moved by Steve, second by Ernie. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. The public hearing is set for November 4th. Can I get a motion to set a public hearing for November 4th, 2024, to consider the special use permit for 160 to 190 Main Street, Chipotle, James Boglioli of Benderson Development, applicant for a restaurant in a vacant tenant space?
So moved.
Moved by Steve, second.
second.
Second by Kristen. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Public hearing is set for November 4th. Can I get a motion to set a public hearing for November 4th, 2024, to consider a site plan application for Home Goods at 123 Gray Street, James Boglioli of Benderson Development, applicant, to update the front exterior facade, modify the sidewalk and front entrance, and to construct a one-story addition in the rear of the building?
So moved.
Moved by Ernie, second.
Second.
Second by Jeff. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Public hearing is set for November 4th. I get a motion to approve budget adjustments for the 2024-2025 fiscal years.
So moved.
Moved by Kristen, second.
Second.
Second by Molly. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. And can I get a motion to approve Edward Hutton as a member of the East Aurora Fire Department?
So moved.
Moved by Steve, second.
Second.
Second by Molly. Further discussion?
Who's voting already? Wait off, Steve feels.
I think that's how we should do our
And
votes.
Shane looked left. Steve just looked straight ahead.
Sorry, Steve.
That's how we should register our votes.
All right. Any other discussion on Edward Hutton as a new member of the fire department? Anybody know? Nobody? All right. I'm sure he's good people. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Approved. Thank you to Edward for his service to the community. Moving on to new business, scoreboard and flag at Hamlin Park requested by Little Loop. Is someone from Little Loop here? Hi. How you doing? Do you guys want to tell us about your improvements? Sure. Would you mind?
You
gotta
kind of sorry, go ahead.
That's all right.
You just kind of come up and state your name for the record of the organization.
We record everything for posterity.
I'm Stacy Blattner. I'm on the executive board as a secretary for the East Aurora Little Loop football and cheer program. We are here today because we would like to update our scoreboard. I have a picture if you guys want to see it. Basically, the bottom is intact and that doesn't need to be replaced. We would just be updating the aesthetic. Our volunteers are going to install it and they are licensed and insured. And one big savings is now we'll be able to use LED bulbs, whereas before they were more expensive. So this will just be a good thing in the long run as well.
Your scoreboard, same size, right?
I need the license and insurance.
Right now?
No, when you come, if they approve it.
Sure.
Shane?
No, it's my understanding that everything's identical to the old scoreboard, it's an updated version. You guys also wanted to put in a flagpole.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Yep, and they would like the DPW to meet them down at Hamlin Park at some point to determine where a flagpole near the scoreboard could go, and they will be installing it, and no lights are necessary, just putting the flag up before games and taking it down after games.
Correct.
Just to clarify, traditional American flag?
Correct.
No other flags on there?
Correct.
All right. And you're going to be taking it down
Yes.
every Saturday night?
Same as we do now, it's just going to be in a different spot.
Perfect. Anybody have any questions for her while Stacy's here?
No?
Okay.
All right. Good. Thank you, Stacy. Appreciate it. All right. Anything else on A?
Have to vote on that, or?
I don't think there's anything to vote on, no. Nobody had any issues? Good to go ahead?
Yep.
Moving on to B, NICEAG tree trimming and GoNet speed line secondary trimming. Shane, you want to give us what for?
Sure, we have some reps here from O'Connell Electric and GoNet Speed. GoNet Speed is going to be installing high-speed fiber cable throughout the village in about 3 weeks. And with that will be coming a fairly heavy tree trimming project ahead of the installation.
Sounds ominous.
Well, gentlemen, if you want to come up to the mic
I
and
mean, how big around is the fiber that we're talking? That was kind of,
well,
is it? Yeah, probably. Well, just to preface it, we love our trees.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
that's been very well explained to them, and
Okay.
they've been in other communities that love their trees too, so they have some background and history and knowledge of how to proceed.
So GoNet Speed is coming. We worked with them throughout New York State for the last 3 years. They are a national company, but they are looking to build quite a bit here in New York. And we did do some work in Buffalo already, and then here we are in East Aurora. They're touching every pole in East Aurora, basically, and in order to do so, they request that to NICEAG, and then NICEAG creates designs for us as the electrical contractor from O'Connell to go out and do. We're going to do about 200 to 250 pole replacements, and then additionally touching about 1,000 poles, moving wires, and that a lot of the pole replacements are due to 5 feet increase in the pole, which is going to require more tree trimming. Go ahead.
In our meeting, you said 100 poles replaced. It's 2 to 250?
Well, currently, we only have 6 designs back, and we got some more designs since then, and so I just took a new average. And not to confuse it, but there are some poles that GoNet Speed is paying for and some poles that NICEAG is paying for, and quite honestly, Chris was referring to the billable poles, which is what GoNet Speed is paying for.
Okay.
I don't want to come here and say there's 100.
No, I want to
And
know.
then I would rather say 250 now and there'd be
Okay.
less.
Yeah, until we get, I'm Tom from GoNet Speed. Until we get the final designs back, the agreed designs, we won't have an exact count at all. So we're, like
Okay.
Mike says, we're just kind of doing a historical guesstimate on what it'll be total over there.
So just to clarify, when you're replacing a pole, so you need a pole that's 5 feet higher. So you put the new one in, right next to the old one?
Yep.
And then what happens to the old one?
So the old one, the utilities that are on that pole transfer onto that new pole, and then that old pole is pulled out by Verizon. And I think that's what Maureen was referring to earlier when she wanted that email to explain that process.
I want documentation that says Verizon's supposed to take the poles out, so that I have it.
So we know Verizon, legally, we know Verizon's responsible to take them out by, what is their timeline?
Their timeline, or what it's supposed to be? 60 days
It's supposed to be 60 days per whom?
by the rules of PSC, but they take it out when they can.
Yeah.
So, once we're transferred off of that and all the other utilities are transferred off of that, Verizon transfers off as well, that pole is sitting there, so then it's on them to replace that, or pull that pole out and fill the hole in.
Yeah, they fill it in
So,
and then landscape it or whatever, is it just filled with gravel?
yeah, normally, what do they do in there, Mike? They just backfill it with dirt, gravel topsoil?
They do topsoil and they seed it?
If it's in a lawn area,
Yeah,
you know, obviously, if it's in a parking area,
that'd be weird.
it would be weird, but yeah.
But once we're done, the problem is that why we struggle with that is it goes through an engines process through NICEAG, and then they don't notify all the communications. So it's hard for us to manage Verizon. We don't, nor GoNetspeed nor us deals with Verizon or that process. It goes through NICEAG.
And as far as
Oh, sorry.
as far as the trimming of the trees itself, so you have to go just up higher, out, around? Are the trees gonna look like the ones where the wires go through and it's just like a big C?
It could.
Like, because we really, really need you to be sensitive to the aesthetic and, you know, the character of the village.
So being that it is approved by NICEAG, NICEAG has their spec that it goes to, which is 10, 10, 10, and 15. It's, on some of the roads that I drove the other day when we were out here, it's going to be pretty invasive. It is their spec, it's their pole. We have an ISA certified arborist on staff that is out here. Unfortunately, it is the utility prune, so it's not like when they come into your backyard and either crown thin, crown raised, you know, make it look pristine. Looks good to utility guy, not so much to the homeowner. We do as minimal as we possibly can, but still have to adhere to that spec since it is their poles and their,
Yeah, because it's not just gonna have the fiber on, it's still gonna have the power.
it still has the power.
And
Power's
the
going.
branches can't be
Correct.
rubbing against the
Correct.
live lines, right?
Correct. They are actually coming through in the beginning of the year and going to be doing a reclamation project through there. We're just going to be the first ones to touch the trees before. So I'm not going to tell you it's not going to be a shock. It's going to be.
It's
But
gonna be done after the leaves fall?
Yes, well, provided we get some wind and rain, then
Right.
yes, then it will be.
Provided the trees comply. Yeah.
Correct.
And you've already done this just in Buffalo, in Western New York? It's only been in the city of Buffalo?
No.
Lancaster, Depew, Lockport.
Okay.
Cheektowagas, Lockport.
So we can go take a look and,
If I can ask, where in the city have you done it? Because I'm only familiar with Green Light doing it. That's it.
Yeah, we have.
Green Light's territory?
Yeah, that's the green light territory. We say city, but it's Cheektowaga from city east.
and Lockport too?
Oh, okay. But it's the same pruning.
We're going
National.
national.
Yeah. So Lancaster, Depew, Cheektowaga, and Lockport. Is that what you said?
So-
DC. We have been across the state in many villages very similar to this that love their trees. We do our best to do what we can to mitigate and be understanding to the homeowners.
Can you explain the 10, 10, 15? What is that, like the C shape that
So,
the mayor was referring to? The 10?
yes and no. Because the poles are going up 5 feet, it would be, depending on the height of the tree. If the poles are going up 5 feet and we gotta go 15 feet, then there might be a C. Most
So
likely-
what you're saying, 10, what's the, yeah, I get it. So from the wires, you're saying 10? What's that definition that you,
Outside phase of wire would be 10 feet, and then the top is 15. And 10
above, you want 15 feet above the wire?
above the face.
Clear, okay.
Correct.
I just was curious.
So if it's a single phase, obviously it's less invasive than if it's double or triple. Like how here is triple, it'll be obviously significantly more.
Okay,
So there are some that are, when you're pruning it, it's got to go down to an actual lateral that it's going to grow from. Otherwise, you're just going to kill the tree. The do more damage to it than it's worth. So at that point, you have to determine if the tree has to come down or not.
Okay,
Or if it creates a hazard to the public, that type of thing.
thank you.
They do have an arborist they're working with, and Jesse's going to speak with them at some point just to make sure everybody's on the same page and does what's best for the trees.
They do have a notification too that goes out and knocks on everybody's door, so they will know that this is coming. Obviously, we wanted to speak to you before we did that, and got your blessing, but
And when is the fiber going to be online?
So we have application packets which have X number of poles on each one. As those come into us, we release it to O'Connell, and then they schedule. How far out are you guys until your first tree trimming ballpark?
I would say you'd start seeing light first quarter, don't you think?
Well, from our perspective, for the fiber, but the tree trimming,
You're going to start 2-3 weeks from
it
now.
would be probably 3 weeks.
2-3 weeks. Our plan is when we start getting these packages back from NICEAG and O'Connell is done with their work, end of the year, first quarter next year is what we're looking for actual
It's going to be
building.
staggered.
Yeah, it will be, yeah. Actually building the fiber will be in right around that time. So a lot of that is dependent on when we get the packages back from NICEAG, the approval from them.
Appreciate your candor and, the fact that you're laying it out there. That's going to be ugly. It's going to be tough. It's going to be brutal. We're going to get a lot of phone calls. There's going to be a lot of upset people.
Maureen said she was going to take them all.
It will not take a while. There will be a recording, and I'm forwarding it to them.
And I have been in touch with NICEAG because I'm sure the PSC will be involved. I'm sure they're going to get some calls. So,
We do plan to put information on the website and probably get it out on the Facebook pages and get as much as we can out. The problem is, we don't have, people are going to be upset we don't have control over how much is cut.
Well, people, you'll always get the people who claim, how come you didn't tell me, even though,
Well, we're going to try to contact the paper to see if they will make sure to run an article and put out all the information we can, so.
Well, let's look at the bright side. There's probably some poles out there and some trees that are pretty unsafe right now, so
Yeah.
we're gonna get them away from those lines, and with winter coming, so.
Good point,
should be
Molly,
less
right?
power outages, we hope.
Yeah.
That is a good
That's
point
power
that you brought up,
Fewer.
Molly, is that it does make a better infrastructure, a more solid infrastructure with what's happening
Yeah,
in the long run. Not that we ever get snow
no,
out here, but
right. Hey, you guys do your best to keep what you can and, the aesthetic and the trees, and so all we can do, really. Everyone try their best to keep it.
Anything else from the board?
I'm good.
Appreciate it. Thank you, fellas.
I was going to say, I gave you guys a flyer here or a stack of papers to breeze through. It tells a little bit about us, what our plans are with Go Net Speed, how many homes we're going to pass roughly, how much fiber we're going to build, gives a little history of the company in here. It's going to be good for the folks out here. It really will. You were asking about talking to other towns. Kevin Peterson, the mayor of Depew, I don't know if you know him. Give him a shout.
Cell phone number?
He knows us well. I have some cards too, if you'd like. If you guys want my cards, my phone is on. Not as much as Maureen's is, but mine's always on. Hand these up.
Yeah, just leave it.
You can leave them on the thing, I'll grab them.
Yeah, we'll grab them.
Tom.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have had a number of people call when we're going to have fiber in East Aurora, so that's another positive for the whole project. All right. Thank you, fellas. Anything else from the board on B? All right. Moving on to old business, nothing. Speakers and communications, second opportunity, second and last opportunity. Tony? Hi, Tony. Good to see you.
Long time no see.
461 Griggs Place.
We missed you. I know, you're back in action.
Yes, I have returned. I just wanted to mention that I'm very sensitive to some of the problems with infrastructure, with trees and power lines. In my new house, newly purchased house, we had a major trunk fall down that was about 20 inches in diameter, and out of that 20 inches, 14 inches was hollow. So there's a lot of silver maples that Jesse and Matt's team have been educating me on that have this problem in the village. We need to improve the infrastructure, and from that point of view, better trimming by NYSEG or the cable companies, I think, is a good situation because we reduce the risk. I have kids walking by my house every day going to school, the bus stop. And, you know, I find big chunks of wood on the sidewalk. We need to have somebody looking at these things and doing an intelligent job of trimming.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. We can't
Yeah,
just wait
I
till
agree.
everything falls on its own accord. And Tony, I remember, I shouldn't be surprised to see you. I remember when you were on the board, you spoke then about proactively pruning to avoid power outages and the chance of it falling and hurting someone. I do remember we had a branch fall on, maybe it was Gerard, over by Parkdale that one year, where the live wires are right down right as the school was about the elementary school was about to let out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. I know people are sensitive to C shapes and things like that. In some cases, it's better just take them down to the ground. But in the long run, it makes for a more stable environment, and that's always an advantage when you worry about these snowstorms and
Right.
October surprise, and all of a sudden you've got, you know, hundreds of houses without power. Thank you.
Thanks, Tony. All right, speakers and communications, anybody else? Jesse?
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Hi.
Jesse Griffiths, Chair of the Tree Board. I wanted to say I appreciate these guys meeting with us this week about the tree trimming program, the tree trimming project that they're going to be doing. As Tony said, we've tried in the past to allocate some money for proactive tree maintenance work. For various reasons, it hasn't happened over the years. We're going to be taking another run at that for the next fiscal year. So I'd like to maybe make a point to try to remember this kind of thing happening, so that when we come back and ask for money to say, hey, can we do some proactive tree maintenance to prevent these shock projects from happening, that you remember this, and that we can hopefully prevent it, you know, next 5, 10, 20 years down the line when they got to raise it up another 5 feet for the next
Yeah. So let me ask you, Jesse,
technology. Sure.
your proactive approach,
Yeah.
how is it different than the 10, 10, 10, 15?
Well,
I just ask because, like,
Sure.
I have a dog,
Yeah.
right? And I don't brush it as much as I should. And eventually it gets all matted, and I take it into the place, and they're like, we got to shave it right down to the skin.
Sure.
Because you weren't maintaining the dog, and then
Sure.
it looks insane for like 2 months. And I'm like, I should have kept up on it. So is there a way we
There's-
can keep up on it
there's
so
a
it
lot-
doesn't look so dramatic?
Yeah, there's a lot that can be done with newer trees, younger trees when they're first planted to prevent, you know, multiple leaders, multiple things, you know, brushiness that happens. Where we are right now, it's been decades since a lot of the silver maples were put in the ground. Norway maples, a bunch of other trees in the village, and they haven't been kept up, so that they're, you know, there's wires all over the place and tree limbs all over the wires. What we were hoping to do would be to just start setting up, you know, sections of the village, a couple trees or a couple of roads, streets here, a couple of streets there per year, to try to reduce that load, you know, the brushiness around the wires, as well as take care of new trees. You know, if you can see that a limb is going to go up through the wires, trim it early, you know, when it's a couple inches in diameter rather than waiting until it's 14 or 18 inches around and half hollow.
And train the tree then?
So, yeah, train the tree. Yeah, that's what we're hoping for. Right now, we tend to take a reactive approach where we wait for somebody like Tony to email us and say, hey, this tree is, you know, falling down, we need to take care of it. You know, I get all of the calls through the dispatch on my phone, and every time I see a tree down, I'm just hoping it's not in the village. I'm hoping it's out in the town somewhere. So it's not one of mine. So yeah, just like to reiterate, we're going to try to try to ask for some more money for proactive work on the trees next year, and we just hope that we remember that this is coming.
Great, sounds wise.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
This might be a
Yeah.
good time, too, to plug your tree planting program. So if people have trees that have to be taken down for this work or whatever, if they want a new street tree.
This is true. We have at least 17, maybe 18 new trees going in the next few weeks with a fall planting. We run a spring planting program every year where we will replace, trees that have been taken down or houses that have open space in front. We'd like to continue to do that so that as some of the old silver maples and other older trees come down, as they reach their end of life, that we don't have big chunks of the village that are just bare. And we have lots of new trees growing up in there to replace them. And yeah, we'd like to keep doing that.
You got to make sure you put trunk protectors on them because there was a buck in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And he was rubbing his antlers on.
Yeah, we lost
my
a couple
new
this year.
trees
We lost a
all the
couple
way
small
up
ones this
the
year. The
street.
DPW's always done a great job of putting wire stakes on the new trees. Another thing we'd like to do is
But,
start
I did
adding
that.
some.
I did that too. But
Yep.
something to because
Start adding
he
some
rubbed the
protective
bark
tips.
off the one side of the.
Yeah, there's about 1,000 different ways to do that. Some of which are pretty inexpensive. You can get sort of heavy-duty wire that you use for fencing, and just make a round cage that goes around the new trees. Even just zip tie them in place, leave them there for a couple of years. It'll help keep the deer off them. Until we do something about the deer overpopulation problem, but that's a totally different discussion, I guess. But that's a good point. We're going to try to do that too. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Jess.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Jen?
Hello. Hi, I'm Jennifer Brazil. I'm also on the tree board, but I'm more so going to speak on behalf of I'm a village resident and very immersed into the community. So I'm going to more so speak on behalf of that versus representing the views of the tree board, just in case I say something that doesn't represent the views of the whole tree board. I understand, kind of understand what's happening here and the need to upgrade the facilities, the light poles, et cetera. We have to come up in present time. I just want to understand if there's any sort of accountability and if anyone's going to be watching or if we have a list of all these poles and these addresses, is there any way that we could see what's going to be happening so we can keep an eye on it or participate in the proactive protection of the trees for the community? Because to me, I just went to the co-op the other day and Spectrum had come in and chopped down 2 huge trees. I don't know if you guys saw these, huge trees, because they said the lines were in the way of the Spectrum cables. So I'm not saying that you guys are going to do that, but I just would love there to be some more transparency, because if you start going after 200, 250 or more trees around the village, people are going to freak out. So I just feel like the more that you can have accountability for what you're doing, the better that we can all stay on top of it.
We're going to work with them, Jen. Jesse's going to be in contact with their arborist, who they have on staff, to go through and determine what trees need what, and if they're dead or find out it's rotten inside, they'll take more action. But we'll keep up on it, and I'm sure the whole village will keep up on it.
I think the village will keep up on it, but from what I'm hearing is that we have no choice.
Well, with
it's already
utilities,
happening.
we're very limited in what we can say and make them do.
And why is that? Because it's a state of New York contract?
It's a utility in New York, which they have all sorts of rights of what they can and can't do regarding, running their utilities.
So maybe to clarify, the state sets utility rates, and as a local government, there's little we can do to stop higher levels of government interacting at our local sphere. And there's something that the ability to have telecommunications across the state is something the state really thought they should control through a variety of special entities. So this is one of the special entities that comes to any municipality, and we have very little control. Railroads are another very similar scenario where there's very little that the local municipalities can do to interact with the railroads. So it's a unfortunate but common problem across the state that the state just said, this is the way we're going to do it, and we're going to do it consistently across the whole state. Does that help?
So why are these guys here? Like, what are they?
They're basically sub-entities.
They're what?
Sub-entities.
So what are they here tonight?
to prepare us.
Okay, so they're not asking for approval or permission, or
No.
it's just basically like.
No, they want to get ahead of it, and they want to work with us and help us, or have us help them get the word out, so everybody's prepared that it's coming. It's not a shock.
But it sounds like it's going to be a shock from what he said.
Well, there's a lot of trees that have grown right through all the power lines.
Yeah, I
All
see
of those
that.
have to be removed. All those, they can't have any trees or branches going through the power lines, or 10 feet under, 15 feet above, and 10 feet to the side. So they have to do it. They have the right to do it, and they're just trying to get ahead of the complaints and inform us and help
Well,
us.
I appreciate that, and I like the transparency. I'm just wondering if there's any sort of accountability, or if we just have to say, okay, that's just the law.
Well, after dealing with utilities for decades in my last position,
Yeah.
they don't do more than they're supposed to do. So if they're supposed to cut 10 feet under, 10 feet to the side, and 15 feet above, it's going to be within an inch of that distance. They're not going to do 12 feet in one direction and 20 in another. So they'll do exactly what they're allowed to do.
And so Jesse's going to be able to go through every tree with them?
Absolutely. We're going to have Jesse at every single tree.
Sorry, David.
But there'll be some checking in. Matt's guys will be around seeing what they're doing, and I'm sure
Yeah.
Jesse will pop in from time to time to see how it's going. And
Were you guys aware of the spectrum trees that came down behind the co-op? I'll send you a picture because it's.
Was it on co-op property?
It was. I
railroad
can't tell. I can't tell. I think private property, so must have been the railroad property. I don't know. I'll go look tomorrow closer.
Unfortunately, they have the right to enter onto even private property to remove.
Spectrum Cable does.
That's utility.
Oh.
So there's and there are many things that the state legislature provides public individuals a right of action to bring matters forward to their attention. This is one where there's very limited things that we can do, unfortunately, and they view it's in the good of all the people of the state.
I wonder if everyone's aware of the fact that, like, this village is built on trees, and that Lancaster and Cheektowaga, no offense, are not so as much. So the fact that they're coming into this village next is just going to be a lot more traumatic and damaging to the village people.
I do know
Not the
that's-
band, the people.
Absolutely. I do know that some municipalities have successfully gotten grants for trees for a variety of reasons. For example, after October storms, major storms that rip up those. So that might be a path forward to say, this was the result, and perhaps we can get a grant from the state to repair some of them.
Yeah, how do we pursue that?
Well,
I'll be happy to talk
let's
with
see
you
what happens first.
Yeah, we can chat afterwards, and I'll be happy to tell you more about
Okay.
that.
Okay, well, thank you for listening, and again, these are my views, not the tree board's views, but I'm very nervous about this.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Wait. Can you talk into the mic, though?
Yes.
Sorry.
And just direct it.
Yeah, yes.
One quick thing before, just to kind of answer her, or respond to her. When we come through, we do try to do it to the best of our ability so that you're not shocked. There are some that are going to be, to Jesse's point.
You're going to want to
with-
address the board.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
To Jesse's point with the getting some money for pre-pruning, if you will. Some of the newer trees, if you keep them down below the wires, they would just keep growing. It would be better that way. When NICEAG comes through and does their reclamation after we're done, their goal is to keep their program going every 5 to 6 years, in which case they're going to just keep coming through and trimming. Realistically, the shock and all will be over with, but it'll just be regular pruning. But on the new trees, it will prevent them from growing into the wires and actually giving them something to grow to. So just something to keep in mind, that's all.
Tony?
One other quick thought, semi-related to this. When we were redoing Oakwood, there was some discussion about burying conduit. So that new people like these guys could go underground instead of overground.
Yep.
As new projects get approved for Pine Street or Maple or any of these other things, it's probably good to think about a little harder. Where can we do dig once?
Leave a
and
conduit.
add
That was it.
much?
I thought that'd be a good opportunity at that time for us to bury it while we could, while we had Oakwood all torn up. And I had Kathy and Maureen look into it at the time. They said they were getting estimates. We didn't want to pay the engineering right up front if we knew it was going to be out of the ballpark, of $750,000 to $1 million to do that, because every house, right, has to have it now attached down to the ground instead of up by the roof line with the wires, where the power lines come in.
But you can add the conduit fairly cheaply. I think that part of it was maybe on the order of 100,000 to just put it there, so the new people can go fishing into the conduit instead of saying, okay, now I've got to move all the other electric and everybody else down into it.
What do you mean, new people? Like, there's no...
He's talking future reference. He says, if we have it opened up, let's put the conduit in there, so down the road, we're ready when this arises again.
Yeah, green light or somebody else decides they want to come in, or 5G network or 6G telephone wants to put, a pole up with a repeater up in the air, but wants to feed the houses underground. As you got
And the only-
projects coming in, you want to give them choices. And that'll be something that potentially has a budget impact, but it's probably less traumatic. Something to think about, as we look at budget.
And that's long down the road. I mean,
Yeah.
we wouldn't, even if we did every project and had the conduit in it, we're still not fully
Yeah, you got a whole long.
developed. Yeah.
But it's worth thinking proactively. You need to maintain your infrastructure. You can't just, kick the can down the road, right?
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
I mean, Maple and Pine are both county. Do you think they'd even be amenable to something like that
While they're tearing it up?
while they're tearing it
Yeah,
up?
let's ask.
Can't hurt. I mean,
Yeah, if you go to Germany, residential areas, it's all underground.
Yeah.
Everything's underground.
And all
There's
the new- all the new
my cousins,
developments, communities
when my
down south.
cousins come to visit, it's one complaint they have is all the poles and all the wires everywhere.
Bless you.
It's visually obnoxious to them because they're not used to seeing it.
Sure.
It's all underground, which makes a lot of sense, but I'm sure adds a lot of cost.
Right.
Until you get it there.
All right. Second speakers and communications, anybody else? Hi.
Hate this part, don't love the public speaking. Ashley Curry, 110 Maple Road, almost a member of the tree board. Just had a couple of questions or points of clarification. In the cases of the dead trees, or maybe the hollow trees, instead of a 10 by 10 by 10, would the entire tree be taken down under this, or are we going to be left with dead trunks? Just a question. Do you know the answer? You don't want to tell me the answer.
Joe was going to give us an answer.
Yeah.
My normal, now mind you, I am not a tree expert,
It's
so
just
take
a
this with a
question.
grain of salt. My understanding at this
You're not
point
obligated to.
is simply that if there are trees that are a hazard to the public safety is discovered at the time, then it'll be taken down. But,
Taken down to
if the tree's dead, the tree generally comes all the
stump
way down.
left or stump ground?
You guys know, like,
Just looking
move
for
'em.
clarification.
Like you start putting in a tree, it's a silver maple, it's hollow on the inside, and what happens?
What we do, if it is that, we normally take them down because of the legality of it, not us. We're the last ones to touch a tree if it falls and kills her.
All right, so you
Then
take the tree out, roots, stump, everything.
Stump ground or stump left?
To the stump.
take the wood. Nice, we'll take it, put it on the ground, and you take care of it.
I'm just asking for like the comms portion of it. I'm not
So for us, if we find it that it's a hazard to the public, then we take it.
grind the stump or leave the stump.
I normally don't see the stump.
Stump left. I think this is just helpful when we're letting the advertiser or the Facebook
Yeah,
and stuff know.
yeah, they said they will take the wood away.
But a stump is left,
The
which
stump
makes
will always go.
replanting a little bit sticky. So future budget for replanting on trees that come down from this stump grinding potential, just putting it out there. Also, to welcome our new service provider to the village and to get your name out there, you might consider offering free Wi-Fi on a weekend in September that might align with the festival that we have. That is all.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Anyone else? All right, Closing our speakers and communications. Department head report. Chief, Pat?
Police department's busy with regular police department things. Obviously, this weekend, we were busy with an unfortunate circumstance that has pretty busy yesterday. I reached out last week to Erie County Chiefs of Police and asked about other localities and what they do with the deer population issues in their respective towns and villages. I was put in contact with a couple gentlemen that have been handling that for the town of Amherst, the city of Lackawanna, town of Cheektowaga over the past 20 to 25 years. We have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow. I believe Shane's going to join me for that, and we're going to learn about how these municipalities have done this and, basically how it gets started, and to find out, first and foremost, if the DEC even considers us as having a deer problem. So I found out there's a lot that goes into it. You don't just make a phone call and say you're going to take care of the problem. You start from the ground, you form a committee, DEC gets involved, they decide whether or not it's necessary, and you go from there. So there's been enough between the town boards and the village board meetings that I've attended. There's been enough talk about it that I took it upon myself to reach out to these other departments and find out how they do it and how successful they've been, and so we're getting started with that. That's all I have.
Thank you, Pat. Matthew?
The DPW is busy picking up leaves for the season, and the new parking lot extension at the fire hall is coming along nicely. Should be, the first phase should be wrapped up this week, and then it'll be paved in the spring or summer.
But they're still going to be able to park on it? It's going to be gravel? They're going to be able to park on it?
Yeah, it'll have a stone topping and be able to be parked on. I don't know what we're going to do for plowing this winter, though.
Okay. All right. Thanks, man.
Can I note that Jeff is at NICOM for the superintendent's training, DPW?
Jeff Stoll.
Jeff Stoll.
Thank you. All right, Shane?
I stopped down, and Matt said I should stop down and check out the new parking lot. It looks great. They were working right away on it today, coming right along. The engineering RFP bids are due back by 10 a.m. on Thursday, so hopefully we'll have at least 3 to look over, and that's all I have.
Good, thank you, Shane. Maureen?
Still getting that Tyler software all set up, lots of meetings for that, and then prepping for the capital committee meeting on Thursday, getting our stuff back in line and talking to the department heads, so.
Thank you, Maureen. All right, Molly?
Nothing for me tonight, thank you.
Jeffrey?
All good, thanks.
Ernie?
Nope, nothing.
Kristen?
Nothing, thanks.
Steve?
All set.
I don't want to screw it up. I also don't have anything. Can I get a motion to adjourn at 7:49 PM?
Motion.
Moved by Jeff, second.
Second.
Second by Ernie. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks for explaining. Appreciate it.